2019. We will begin the meeting with a flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to reading and approval of the June 25th, 2019 regular meeting minutes. I noticed just one edit that I think needs to be made, and that was regarding the subcommittee for the survey. I believe it said that it was Miss Sherlock and Miss Sheehan, and it's Miss Valentine and Miss Sheehan. So I will make that
Okay.
correction here.
All right.
All right, noted in the minutes.
Okay. So,
So the subcommittee is Ms. Ballantyne,
and Ms. Sheehan.
okay,
So the
is
correction
Ms.
would be
Ballantyne,
switching out Sherlock for Ballantyne.
got it.
And so, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the June 25th, 2019 regular meeting with the revision noted.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And chair votes aye. Moving on to correspondence and community input. Anyone have any?
I've heard nothing.
Madam Chair, the only thing I have made an agenda item 5B that I received a letter. So we'll, with your permission, we can take it during the appropriate time.
Okay, great. Okay. Examination and authorization of payment of bills, that's ongoing. Continue that after the meeting or during the meeting. So moving on to superintendent's report, Mr. Parentazzi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's wonderful to be here in this beautiful Nahant on a gorgeous summer evening. So the first item is 5A, the budget status. Today, Ms. Katsos and I spent a significant amount of time reconciling the fiscal 19 budget. I'm pleased to report that with the transfers that are on your table this evening, and with the purchases that are you're reviewing right now, the budget stands in the black as follows. This spring, prior to the town meeting, I authorized the transfer of $30,000 from the special education transportation account so that the town administrator and the town accountant could use that for revenue for items at the town meeting. If you remember, when the town meeting approves spending money, it always states where the revenue comes from. So $30,000 worth of that revenue came from our unexpended transportation budget for special education. At the reconciliation, we have another $61,675 of unexpended special education transportation funds. Those funds were unexpended this year because two students who had specialized education transportation when the budget was built ended up under different circumstances and therefore did not need the transportation this year.
Did you say $61,500?
$61,675. So with the $30,000, we have $91,675. As a reminder, special education transportation is a line item in the town expenditures. Therefore, that money is either expended or rolls back to free cash. we don't have transfer authority over that specific money. Okay. So, but with the transfers that you'll see later today and with the expenditures you're reviewing, we still have $49,519.36 from all the other accounts left unexpended. That money comes from efficiencies. I would say that on my best day, people think I'm frugal. On my worst day, they use other words. But I think expending taxpayers' money is a big responsibility, and we don't expend what we don't need to expend. So we are returning $111,194.36 plus the $30,000 for a total of $141,194.36 to the coffers of the town for free cash. And we do that with pleasure, because we really have expended all of the funds we needed to. We bought the textbooks for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. We fixed the roof of the gym alcove. We got the new temperature and environmental controls for the library and the server room. We have spent what we need to spend. We have pre-bought some things, like paper products, and so it's really, and I have sent the town administrator and the town accountant an email stating those numbers upon your approval this evening, so that they're already aware of it. Okay?
And although you've already repeated it, I'm sorry, would you mind repeating one more time the 49,000?
Sure. Well, let me repeat them all. $30,000, which was returned to the town in advance of town meeting for revenue. $61,675, which on our last reconciliation is available for free cash from the special education transportation. And all the other line items, the dozens of other line items, total $49,519.36.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So obviously it was a good year financially. Everyone's paid up. The other thing that you should know that is related tangentially is that we are out of sequence with the town when it comes to salary payment, because they pay every week and we pay every other week. So if it should match, but over the years it gets skewed, because there's leap years and, depending upon what day of the week the year starts, all those kinds of details. So the year-round employees, and there's only 6 of us, we skipped a pay period in the beginning of July in order to match the town. We're trying to make things as easy as possible and as simple as possible. Chris actually called all of the employees and let them know last week. So we're now in the right sequence with the town. Another thing that we do differently is in our contract, our teachers have the ability to get paid every other week for the school year or every other week for the calendar year. Now, what happens is when we start to pay them for the new year in September, if they're going to get paid for the calendar year, they're going to get 5 paychecks after school is out. So approximately 20% of their earned money from a biweekly paycheck is held back. So I wrote an email to the president of the union requesting to have the 4 members of the association who are on that 26 pay cycle to actually surrender that right, so that once again, we can get in perfect match with the town. Now, what that would mean is they would get more of their money up front. The reason that some teachers and staff members choose the 26 option is, you get a lump sum at the end of the school year for the summer. So what I recommended is that those members actually have additional money withdrawn from their paycheck, so it's because it's going to go up, and actually put that in their own account where it can earn some interest. Because if it stays in the town account, it's just money that the staff member doesn't have. So obviously, I just did that today after talking to the town treasurer and the payroll department, trying to make things a little easier for them. We'll see what they say. It is a contract right. They can surrender it, obviously, by mutual agreement. We can change that language. And if not, then, I'll bring it to the table at the next negotiations.
Why does the school do every other week and the town do weekly?
I actually don't know. It is a long-standing tradition. I will say to you, weekly is unusual in today's world. And I know that the town is looking into biweekly.
The town has been looking into biweekly for a while now, and I believe it may have something to do with the other unionized departments, like the other employees, their union in that department, and their thinking would be that moving everybody forward at once, the remaining, other than our department. But it's come up a couple of times in the years.
Yeah, there may be, in fact, be language to that effect from a longstanding union contract, just like we have the 21-26. It's probably been around for decades. But it certainly would be. Today I had a conversation with the treasurer and the payroll specialist about the amount of time they could devote to other things if, we got our payroll synced with theirs, and if it was a biweekly payroll. It would just make things really simpler. And the other thing that I wrote in my email is we have had some issues with payroll, and when things are in sync and consistent, you reduce the chance of errors. Every time there's a unique circumstance, it typically causes issues. So we'll see what happens. Okay. And item 5B is in your packet, Madam Chair and members of the committee. It is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education statement of formal approval for us to not maintain a kindergarten through 12th grade school district. In order to get this letter from the commissioner or from Ruth Hirsch on behalf of the commissioner, I had to send documentation, which was our contract with Swampscott, so the commissioner knew our students were being educated appropriately, and also your vote when you voted not to maintain a K-12 system. So those documents are on file with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to the principal's report. Mr. Parentesi, you going to do that?
I am going to do that, Madam Chair.
Thank
I
you.
changed my hats. So we were thrilled to note that the raw scores and student essays are now available. The principal is reviewing them. The July 24th is the date to start reviewing data for reporting errors. And August 23rd, the results from multiple choice and open response questions will be available to our educators. And that's great timing because it's right before our first work day for the new school year for teachers. So the MCAS data release is according to the projections of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. They did a great job. And we're very happy about that, because the earlier we get those results, the better we can organize our students who need support and who need remediation and who need extension based on the standardized testing results. So in preparation for school opening, I know it's kind of a little early to be talking about that, but parents and guardians should know that our back-to-school supply lists are already posted on our website. Anyone who doesn't have a computer or has trouble downloading it or accessing it, they can call the school and get a copy. I'm pleased to report that we had an extra large cleaning crew. Mr. Cronin, as you know, has retired. Our Mr. Gagliano worked for 2 weeks with he and James Federico, so we actually had a crew of 3 custodians instead of 2. And of course, the school year ended early, so they have already prepared every classroom.
Great.
And they look fabulous. They really do. They did a great job. They were putting extra coats of wax. I think they were shooting for 5 to 6 coats on every floor. And today, James began to strip the main hallway on the top floor. So, so we're very pleased at that progress. So today, the principal interviewed 2 candidates for the STEM teaching position. Both are good candidates. There's one more interview on Thursday. We also are scheduling the candidates for interviews for the registered behavior therapist. That's a part-time position. They're both part-time positions. Just to remind you, the STEM teacher is 1 day a week. And both of the candidates I know who right now are the finalists for that position, with the 1 interview still to go, both of them are seeking 1 day a week. So it's really good. And the registered behavior therapist is an hourly position, and we have 5 candidates for that. An update on the Forest Playground. An additional 4-foot section of slide has been ordered. It should arrive in early August. The shade and sun gardens continue to be installed on the edge of the playground. There's been a recent planting of a dogwood tree. The poison ivy mitigation continues with more black tarps, but we are bent on eliminating it from our playground, which is an expectation that we all should have. And the last thing is our website. We're recommending a change to integrate the graphic into the top bar and eliminate the large Johnson School banner that occupies a main section of the part of the screen. Although it's beautiful, it's that visual shot of the island, it takes up about 1/3 of the homepage. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can make that photograph a backdrop and have printing in front of it. And so we can get, we're getting more complex, and we need more room. So we'll be looking into that. And that's my principal's report.
Any way that we can know that the poison ivy is gone? Wonder how.
I will, I'll ask that.
Curious.
I didn't realize
I
it
know-
was coming back. I thought that it was taken care
You
of.
know, like,
Diana Brandy, she's really helping a lot with that, right?
I just wonder, you pull it, but
Right.
you don't see it, but
I think the purpose of the black plastic is once you remove the poison ivy, you kill the roots by depriving it of air and
Yeah.
light.
Yeah, she's
But
working
I'll
on it as
check.
a permanent solution. Yeah.
I'm certainly not a poison ivy expert, but luckily we do have an expert in gardening working with us. So
We're very fortunate.
we're very fortunate.
Right, so, moving on to old business and pending matters. So the Forest Playground update.
The Forest Playground, I gave you the update already, unless a member of the committee or you, Madam Chair, have a question. Okay. Every time I go back there, it looks a little bit better, so we are moving forward. The preschool registration, there is a sheet labeled 7B in your packet that has a grid. And we have frozen the Tuesday, Thursday registrations so that anyone who wants to register is going to have to register for, from now on for 3 days or for 3 days or 5 days, I'm sorry. So this shows you that teacher A, who would be a part-time teacher, would have a class of 11. Beautiful. Absolute, anyone who wants a Monday, Wednesday, Friday early childhood program, we have a certified teacher available with a class size of 11. That's incredible. Teacher B, who we're going to have with larger class sizes, we're going to keep those students together. So the 17 students who are on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday will have added to their class on Tuesdays and Thursdays 6 more students, and there will be a teacher and a full-time paraprofessional, once again having the adult-student ratio in the 11-12 range. So, but we're not going to take any more Tuesday, Thursday registrations. We don't want that to get any higher.
However, if somebody wants to register and wants to go, their child to go all 5 days, you're going to allow that?
We're going to consider it. We would prefer the registrations be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and if it's 5, at 24-25 with 2 staff members for early childhood, getting a little bit high. And there's really no way for us to mitigate that with another staff member, because one more staff member would make the numbers 8.
And just space.
Yes. Well, we're lucky, we're blessed with the space we have, but you're right.
Right, because on Tuesday you'll have,
That's right, it's going to be a bit busy place again, which we're thrilled about.
that's fantastic. So the total number of children registered for preschool is 34.
Yes.
Right, the only other way to accommodate more children, I suppose, would be to create 2 teachers that are 5 days as opposed to, that way we could move children from the Tuesday, Thursday day into the other class. And that would take more staffing.
It would take, A, it would take more staffing, and B, the finances would be in the red.
Right, right,
And then we would have very small classes,
right, which is can be a detrimental.
extraordinarily small classes,
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, I think we have to remember, that this is a great service that we provide.
Oh, it's a fantastic service, and we are, in fact, right on the edge of being the cheapest in town. And the fact that we have 2 certified teachers and a licensed paraprofessional, raise us to a level that's really very hard to match.
Plus, the students benefit from a lot of, interaction with the older students, even just being around them and witnessing and the events that happen at the school. It's great.
That's right. They go to many of our assemblies. They go to many of our musical extravaganzas. It's,
Field day.
yeah.
Great, thank you.
So, Madam Chair, item 7C, also in your packet. is a request for transfer. This is obviously the final one of fiscal 2019. And once again, the pattern that we have established is followed. The two left columns are the in written description and in account number, the accounts where we're taking money because there is more money in those accounts than we need, transferring it to the two right-hand columns, which need the money because there is less money than we need, and the amount of the transfer is in the final column. So the transfer total is $21,517.36, which I recommend you do because it balances our books.
I'm happy to make a motion for the transfer of funds as detailed in item 7C.
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
Teacher salaries, regular education to teachers' supplies. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Okay, I apologize. I read
No, that's okay.
salaries again.
You know, I
looked at it, I'm
d-
like, it looks like we're transferring
Madam Chair, I did,
2-1.
when I was working with Krista, I did exactly the same thing. I said, we're transferring money from an account and putting it, oh, I see.
Continue, Lauren.
One little word different.
Yes, took me a minute. Sorry, Lauren.
Oh, no problem. So the transfer, I made a motion to approve the transfer of funds as detailed in item 7C.
Madam Chair, could I ask for the amount of money to be read into the record?
Sure.
The total amount.
The amount of $21,517.36.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. And roll call vote. Ms. Valentine,
Aye.
Ms. Sherlock,
Aye.
the chair votes aye. Great. Thank you, Mr. Parentazzi. Let's see, so next on the agenda is the elementary school survey that we spoke about last week. Ms. Valentine and I got together and mocked up a survey, which is in front of you, just to kind of review the concept and where we went from last week or 2 weeks ago to today. So the idea is to gather feedback from our stakeholders, meaning the parents and guardians, the children who go to our school, and try to see what our strengths are and where people feel we could improve, and then think about these and hopefully utilize them, developing future plans. We spoke last time about developing two surveys, one for the lower grades, meaning elementary school, and then one for upper, middle, and senior high school. When we met between last meeting and this meeting, Ms. Valentine and I thought that it would be a good idea to try to send out the elementary school survey in August, being that we're just a little further along with it, and then the middle school, senior high school survey in the fall, for two reasons. One, because we need to put it together, but also we thought that it would be good to try to capture the transition of kids going to 7th grade from 6th grade and how that went, if there was anything lacking that we could remedy next time. And also we're gonna consider, our contract with Swampscott ends in 2020, and we wanna know, we thought it would be good to capture how people felt things were going. Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. The idea of the elementary school survey going out in, as Patty has here, is in August or early September, was to try to send it in tandem with some of the other correspondence that would go out to the families at the beginning of school.
Sure.
There, what am I thinking of? The parent homework, all of that, which
Yeah.
would be done online now.
The
but
packet.
We thought that we might have a better shot at getting a response.
Probably not sending it out in the same email for fear
Right.
that people might do one and not the other.
People will be inundated, you know,
Right,
with
but
required
around the
forms.
same time, when people are thinking about going back to
Sure.
school and it's on their mind, and also just in terms of getting it all together.
I think that looks great.
And so then we drafted up some questions. We limited it to 10 concrete questions with some opportunity for comments. I don't think we need to go over each question here, but we have time that we can bring it home and edit it, tweak it. And see if we can make it better.
Thank you for doing all this work already. You worked quickly.
And efficiently.
Thank you.
That was Patty. Patty did a
Madam
tremendous
Chair,
job.
it may even be helpful for each of you to show it to a couple of friends who have children in the school and just get a parent's viewpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of little user
Yeah.
acceptance testing. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah. And I have a couple of,
Edits, perfect.
we'll get it
Okay.
later.
Great. And for each of us to communicate back to you, Madam Chair, we can each individually respond back to you with our own thoughts and edits, individually, separately, about this survey prior to the next meeting, and that is appropriate.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Definitely. And what I will do is I'll accumulate them all.
Perfect.
If they're straightforward, I'll just make the changes, if we need to discuss, we'll discuss at the next meeting. And
August 27th, I think.
so that's why we wrote, sending out end of August. But, if we get it back and it looks great, I wonder if we could actually get this out in August. Without having a meeting prior.
Do we only have one August meeting? Is that correct?
Yes.
Did we eliminate the first one?
We did.
Okay. I don't have my giant stack of information in front of me. Okay, so we have till August 27th, and we'd have to have an approval. And I would assume that Ms. Katzos would be sending it out?
Is it going to be sent out electronically or hard copy?
I think it's definitely easier if we can send out a link electronically. like
Agreed.
SurveyMonkey, which is anonymous,
Yep.
so,
That makes sense for most.
that way,
It's less arduous than people mailing things back or dropping things off.
right, if people mail things back, then we have to somehow enter it electronically, collate, do sort of the data analysis that we can just pull from SurveyMonkey, so.
So then, Madam Chair, we can be, with your expert advice on the SurveyMonkey, I don't know much about it, and I'm sure we can figure it out. Charles, our technical person, can figure it out. We can be ready to send it first thing on the 28th.
Right, so I can pull together the SurveyMonkey and then give you the link.
Yep.
So, and then you can just send the link out in
Right.
the email. Along that idea, we had one thing that I think we touched on last meeting, and that was that we would also send the survey out to parents or guardians of children entering grades 1 to 6, as we have here, but that have left our school in the past year, if we have their email addresses still. Do you think that's feasible? Does anyone have ideas on that?
Madam Chair, it's definitely possible. Whether the contact information is current or not, we won't know, but we will have something for each of those parents.
I think an attempt would be great.
I do as well. I agree, because I think that could be really important data, especially if it was a family that chose another school.
Right. We don't have a question on here as it is now. Does your child go to Johnson Elementary School?
Why don't you add something to the list of the grades that says former
Student, something like a checkbox.
former grade?
Right, and the way I had the list
Something.
of the grades was you can check all that apply, because I wouldn't expect a family with 3
Right.
students to do this 3 times.
Of course.
But,
Perfect.
and check here if, something like that.
Yeah.
Good idea. And I wrote like a little introduction that I would envision going, it would appear on the top of the survey. You
Yep.
do that with SurveyMonkey, but also going in the email. So feel free to edit that. That was,
I love this idea.
yeah, I mean, I hope we get feedback. You can see, our audience is just waiting to tell us.
Even if it isn't an overwhelming number, any feedback would be helpful. So this is
Sure.
fantastic. It'll be helpful no matter what. Highlight the positives, anything people want for growth, anything at all. Happy to hear it.
Any
Okay.
other ideas, thoughts? No?
Oh, happy to look it
Moving
over.
on.
So the Nahant Public School Staff Handbook, I wrote a letter to the union representatives today, once again giving them an opportunity to respond. And my letter basically says, it's been a long, long time, and I put a couple of dates in. The last version is dated December 12th, 2018. That's the last version. So I informed the union that I would be presenting it to you for your acceptance and filing next meeting on the 27th of August to try to push this along. I didn't think it was fair to do it to this evening because it's summertime, but I think, giving basically 6 weeks' notice seems reasonable. And it's an administrative document, even though the school committee is accepting it and filing it. Administratively, if there's a sentence or two that we need to change, we can just change it. It doesn't take a vote of the school committee, so I'm not worried about that. And most of the information and most of the requirements and most of the guidelines in this document come from documents that are either your policy or procedures that we have had in place for many moons. But there are a couple of new things, so give them an opportunity to respond appropriately. We can hand it out in the beginning of the school, and with a new document like this, I'm really flexible. Lots of times you have to get it out there, and people have to really go over it and read it and think about it before you see where you may have made an error or not stated something the way you think you did. Sure. And we'll just keep it a living document. But it's really, and I also wanted Mr. Andrews to be here because this document is his work. The bulk of his work went into it. So I wasn't quite comfortable doing it on an evening when he wasn't here.
Sure.
Okay.
Is any other old business? So moving on to personnel matters. Mr. Parentasi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I already talked about the interviews for the STEM specialist and our behavior specialist. I have agreements, contracts, or letters of salary and hours, etc., for everyone that works for us, with the exception of 2 consultants. One of them I sent a letter to, and she formally got back to me and asked for a raise since she hadn't had one in 7 years. And I contacted the special education director. She supported it. So today I wrote a new letter of agreement with a $5 increase in the hourly rate and sent it out. And the other one I haven't heard from. Both of them are very small amounts of money and very few hours a year. All of the regulars and the the paraprofessionals, the custodians, the non-union people, we're all set. And today I delivered the copies to town hall so that the town accountant and the payroll department would have the backup for the salaries, because each of these documents has the amount they're making, their hourly rate or their annual rate. So that is all done. Now I'm working on, and as typically is the last ones, it's the stipended positions. Today I sent out 3 letters, 1 for the yearbook advisor, 2 for the middle school stipends, because they're set. Only 1 person volunteered to be the yearbook advisor. And I'm still waiting to get a volunteer, which next week I'll start communicating with people. I don't have anyone. I did make a phone call today about the student council, because I hadn't heard anything from the individual who has been doing that for several years. And then we have the garden club, and that would take care of all the stipends. And we basically have the staff in place. It's my understanding that we have 1 classroom teacher who will be resigning soon. However, I do not have a resignation in hand, but I'm fairly confident that that individual will in fact be leaving for a different position. So next time we meet, you'll probably get the result of the process, because I think I'm going to be getting the resignation within the next week or 2, so we'll move right forward. So I'll keep you informed by email, of course, but the next time we'll be handling that particular position in a public forum will be on the 27th of August, and we'll be done.
Right, so you'll have to post the position, interview, everything prior to
Yes,
joining.
we'll be looking for parents, guardians to help us and on the interview team. So I'll keep you informed.
Thank you. I don't believe we have any business from the committee.
No.
No? Okay,
We're going to continue to meet,
right, yes,
other than that, yes,
moving this forward. So,
on the survey for
Survey, right.
survey subcommittee.
Yeah. right, our idea is to continue, we'll work on this one in
Yes.
concert, begin working on.
Yes, and then once we wrap this one
Upgrades.
up, then we're going to work
Wonderful.
on the Swampscott.
Information is always good to have.
And I think just even doing the one, staggering them, it'll
Yeah.
help us with the upper grade one. All right, so may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
Right ahead.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the regular school committee meeting for July 9th, 2019.
May I have a second?
I second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right. Thank you.